Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, we're going to go over chapter 6 of the book of Daniel. This is part of a series where we're going through the entire book. And once we're done with this, we're going to be halfway through because there's only 12 chapters. If you want to see where the other videos are, you don't have to watch them in order, but you can if you want. Just go to my Book of Daniel playlist. I have 35 videos in this playlist. But the last 5 are part of the series that we're doing. And I would encourage you to go through this. There's a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to the book of Daniel, when it comes to numbers and symbols and on and on and on and on. Using church sources and what prophets and apostles have said clears a lot of that up. So um, let's get into it. This is the story of Daniel in the lion's den. Remember, in the last chapter, the Persians had conquered Babylon, and so that part of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, the gold head, done. Now it's on to the breast and arms, the Persians and the Medians. Chapter 6, Darius makes Daniel the first of his presidents. Daniel worships the Lord in defiance of a decree of Darius. He is cast into the den of lions. His faith serves him, and Darius decrees that all people are to revere the God of Daniel. Quick thing. I hope that you've seen the last couple videos that I did, specifically the one that has the thumbnail of the red dragon. There's a lot of people that seem to obsess or really worry about secret combinations, the powers that be, and give them so much more power in their minds. It seems like more power in their minds to the nations of the world than to God, and realizing that God is the one that's in control allows them to have power, and that God wins in the end, especially at the second coming. That's like the end of these nations. And the book of Daniel has everything to do with the powers that have existed from the beginning until the end, until the last days, and how we should look to the future with hope and faith, knowing the ultimate outcome, and what we should do in the meantime as members of the church. You can look at this and watch what Daniel and his contemporaries did, how they handled the Babylonians, the Persians, and it really teaches you how you should view the powers in the world, despite how bad they are. Listen, Babylon was horrible. We use the name Babylon to describe worldliness and evil and all sorts of things. The actual Babylon that Daniel was captured by and was a captive of, who had destroyed the temple and taken the vessels, who actually destroyed Jerusalem, he still served them and didn't become a zealot, didn't become paranoid, didn't get really negative. Okay. He endured it, he served the king, and he was still in touch with God, and he kept his covenants. That's what you do. Okay. And there's going to be more of that here. So pay attention if you're worried about the UN, about Agenda 2030, just on and on and on and on. Instead of obsessing so much about that, let's look at what we should do and follow Daniel's example and see what's taught in the Bible. Okay, so it says, it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. And over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was the first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. There are some of you that would say, no, Daniel should not have been part of this. The Babylonians and then later the Persians and the Medians, they're just evil, evil, evil. They worship false gods. They have horrible practices. They're involved in all sorts of horrible things. No, he didn't do that. He took part in the government, and he stuck to his covenants and obeyed the commandments. And that's what the church is doing right now. Okay. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Okay. I think a lot of people think in terms of black and white, like black and white thinking, instead of understanding the shades, the nuances, the complexity of life. It's just like, oh no, they're all bad. It's just all bad. And there is a lot of wickedness. There's a lot of corruption. Yes, there's secret combinations, but it's not all bad. there are good things, and we should strive to promote those good things, find common ground, and promote our own agenda, which is the gospel. All right, so then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. So look at that. If he would have been like secretly a zealot, he was trying to bring down the kingdom, he was fighting against him, he would have been ratted on. And that's not what he was doing. He was faithful. He was faithful to an empire that had conquered Judah and destroyed the temple. Okay. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said thus to him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom and the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save thee, O king, shall be cast out into the den of lions. O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Wherefore King Darius signed and assigned the writing and the decree. So no worshiping other gods. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem. So this is, I'm sure, literal, but also there's a symbolic level here that even though you're conquered, you're in captivity, just like you and me are right now. Christ and his kingdom, the political kingdom, is not here yet. We have the ecclesiastical kingdom, but we're essentially in captivity and subject to the powers that be. But we can still have our chamber, just like in the Book of Mormon, we can have our tents pointed toward the temple. So, in his house being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day, and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save thee, O king, shall be cast into the lion's den? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased within himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king, and said unto the king, Now, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king establisheth may be changed. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet, or signet, I don't know, what's a signet? And with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? Then Daniel said unto the king, O king, live forever. What did Daniel say? O king, live forever? Like something nice to the king? My God hath sent his angels and hath shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O God, or O king, have I done no hurt. Then the king, exceedingly glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was set up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. So look, you endure the punishments, you endure the laws that be. Um, you still keep the commandments. Okay, there are red lines that we don't cross, and we keep the commandments. But stop being afraid. So afraid of kings and rulers and governments and plans and agendas and da 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 da. God has power over all that. So just be good. Okay, keep the commandments, and then deal with the situation that you're in, and don't be a zealot. That means these crazy people at the time of Christ that were all against the Romans. They were killing other Jews, any Jew that was supportive of the Romans, and ambushing the Romans, and basically being terrorists. Don't do that. That's not the right way. Continuing, and the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of the lions, them, their children, and their wives, and the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den. That is very sad. That it's a horrible thing. These are horrible people. Okay, just like today, horrible people in these positions of power, horrible agendas, horrible secret groups. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble in fear before the God of Daniel. Oh, look at that. For he is the living God, and steadfast forever. In his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Look how God can turn things around on their heads sway the way that they view things, sway that they view the church. They're still in captivity, but look the good that can come of this. Okay? Avoid black and white thinking. Okay, Daniel 6, verses 1 through 3. Did the Medes and Persians recognize the promotion given to Daniel by Belshazzar in the last hours of his reign? Remember, Belshazzar was basically the last king of Babylon that had to do with the Jews. Okay, so Keel and Delich commented on this issue. Quote, the successor to Belshazzar would be inclined toward its recognition, Daniel's promotion, by the reflection that by Daniel's interpretation of the mysterious writing from God, the putting of Belshazzar to death appeared to have a higher sanction, presenting himself as if it were something determined in the councils of the gods, whereby the successor might claim before the people that his usurpation of the throne was rendered legitimate. Such a reflection might move him to confirm Daniel's elevation to the office to which Belshazzar had raised him. End quote. Though the above may be true, Daniel's great capacity should not be discounted. A wise ruler would recognize and use a man of Daniel's stature. Verse 10, Daniel's response to a heathen decree. Those who are righteous do not fear other people. There you go. That's all you need to know. Those who are righteous do not fear other people. Pass that along to your friends, the ones that keep promoting the fear narratives. Their only desire is to serve and honor God. With the same faith that his brethren Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had shown in refusing to bow down to the idol, Daniel refused to follow the decree that condemned petitions to any god but the king. And don't take that to mean that you just start disobeying the law. Okay, we follow the prophet. Daniel was a prophet. Remember, in the Articles of Faith, let's pull this up. So you don't act independently. You don't go rogue. You follow the guidance of the church. And let's go to Articles of Faith, Law. Okay, number 12. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, in obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. I don't want this to come across as like you think that I think that everything is hunky dory with the world. I am keenly aware of the secret combinations and the plots and the things that they've gotten away with. I've looked into it all just like you, and I believe a lot of it, but you can't just like be unbalanced and go off of your own reasoning and what you think should be done about the situation. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, in obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. And we also believe that God is in control. He's the one that allows them to have power, and he's the one that's going to take it away. Follow the prophet. Continuing, um, verse 10, why did Daniel pray 3 times a day toward Jerusalem? Solomon, in his dedicatory prayer of the temple in Jerusalem, referred to the people's praying toward the city which thou hast chosen, and toward the house that I have built for my name. The prophet Joseph Smith once counseled the 12 apostles to make yourselves acquainted with those men who, like Daniel, pray 3 times a day toward the house of the Lord. And President Wilford Woodruff, in the dedicatory prayer of the Salt Lake Temple, said, Heavenly Father, when thy people shall not have the opportunity of entering this holy house to offer their supplications unto thee, and they are oppressed and in trouble, surrounded by difficulties, or assailed by temptation, and shall turn their faces toward this thy holy house, and ask thee for deliverance, for help, for thy power to be extended in their behalf, we beseech thee to look down from thy holy habitation in mercy and tender compassion upon them, and listen to their cries. End quote. This is not to suggest that the direction in which one faces when one prays has mystical significance, but rather that it is an attitude of spiritual facing. To face the temple, which is the temporal representation of the house of God, suggests that one turns one's heart to the Lord and the covenants made in the temples to be more like him. President Wilford Woodruff clarified this point in what he said next, quote, or when the children of thy people in years to come shall be separated through any cause from this place, and their heart shall turn in remembrance of thy promises to this holy temple, and they shall cry unto thee from the depths of their affliction and sorrow, to extend relief and deliverance to them, we humbly entreat thee to turn thine ear in mercy to them, hearken to their cries, and grant unto them the blessings for which they ask. End quote. 24. Daniel's accusers cast him into the lion's den. The term or ever, as used in Daniel 6:24, means before. Some have attacked the cruelty of condemning the women and children too. To an absolute monarch, however, it probably seemed the logical thing to do, for out of these families might come insurrection in the future. The lesson must be severe enough to warn any others who might be jealous of the king's favorite and most valuable servant. An absolute monarch would likely feel that any other course would slowly cause him to lose power. And that's a common thing, right? We know that dictators do that. Stalin, well, I think they're very paranoid because they know that people want to take them out and either become the dictator themselves or overthrow them, or maybe they're probably usually in fear of a coup, for example. Okay, verse 28. Daniel prospered. He had served. You see that? Served 5 kings: Nebuchadnezzar, evil Merodach, Belshazzar, Darius, and Cyrus. Few courtiers have had so long a reign, served so many masters without flattering any, been more successful in their management of public affairs. That's what they were doing for Babylon and Persia and the Medes. Management of public affairs. Been so useful to the states where they were in office, or have been more owned by God, or have left such an example to posterity. This is what the church is doing. If you're worried about the church rubbing shoulders with these powers, this is not a new thing. It's been done ever since the time of Daniel. It's been done since the time of Joseph, when he rose to be viceroy, right? He became viceroy, basically the second in command, the second leader in Egypt, another corrupt nation. Okay, so get familiar with the scriptures. And that's it for chapter 6. Okay. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.